Welcome to the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index Update. I'm here with Andrew Cox. Andrew, what's the latest?
Anthony, happy Friday, my man. So we've had a 20-point swing towards the shippers from 45 to 25 this week, and I had some commenters in the article that we wrote on FreightWaves.com asking how far does it have to go to get to the left? How bad do things have to get? And the reason I kept it at 25 this week is that I do think things can and probably will get worse over the next week. So we look at our outbound tender volume index. We talked about this freight frenzy ad nauseum for the last couple weeks. We had 44 days of elevated volumes, but since then, since we broke the point at which we had risen and fallen all the way back down where we would be at normal levels, we've fallen another 13% since then. That's been 8 days. So I think the volume picture is pretty weak, and the point I'd like to make about that is, so right here we've got credit and debit card retail sales volume from JP Morgan. So this kind of gives you a look at what people are selling. This is travel and entertainment almost all the way down 100%. Restaurants down in the range of 70%, retail down 20%, which I supposed it would actually be down further. That was kind of encouraging to me. And then we see that big spike in supermarket Whole Foods. That is where that outbound tender volume index really shot up and then came back down. But as we see here, we're now at like Labor Day volumes in the outbound tender volume index, and I think things are actually going to fall worse because of that retail data, and also because our businesses are still shut, consumer sentiment is in the bin, and I just think things can get worse from here.
Andrew, one of the things I love about FreightWaves and the brilliant people here is that there are many different perspectives, many different walks of life, right? And so one of the things that I really enjoy throughout this thing is that there are conflicting points of views, and so that really gives a battle-tested analysis, right? Right.
There's so many smart people here, and of course we're going to have differing opinions. There are some that had called for kind of the bottoming of the freight market. Honestly, just on this volume here, they saw that the deceleration was declining and things were starting to bottom out. But then we had 2 days in a row of volumes falling through the roof, 2% down each day. So yeah, I'm of the opinion that I think we're still a couple weeks away from that true bottom. We are in the trough, but I think that we can trough even lower, and it'll kind of drag along the x-axis for a couple weeks. So yes, but one thing that we are not disagreeing on is the capacity picture. Things are pretty bleak out there for the carriers. We now have, this is as of yesterday, things have fallen below that 4% mark, which is kind of a rare mark in the outbound tender rejection index. It's only been below 4 for a couple of months in its 3-year history. So right now there isn't much freight moving. Carriers are accepting anything they can. There's very little contract freight being rejected, and capacity is still really loose.
Got you, Andrew. And one of the things that's on the headlines now is the economy reopening, right? So one of the things that we initially thought was like, okay, this is going to be a state-by-state thing. We're seeing, of course, Northeast, one of the hardest hit areas, going to remain on lockdown a little bit longer. But we're seeing that the Midwest potentially might be recovering a little bit sooner, less harder hit region. Yep. Does this impact your outlook at all?
Absolutely. That would be, if we did a pricing power by region, we would definitely see some disparities in the coming weeks. The Northeast is going to stay with most of the power to the shippers because just not much freight is moving. But some carriers might be able to get some of that pricing power in the Midwest because they have freight to move, especially if they're moving the things that everybody are using, the refrigerated goods like grocery and medical supplies, the consumer packaged goods. They'll be able to get some power there, but truthfully, the outlook is not very bright for the next couple months for the carriers. I think we have a 3-month outlook at more of a balanced market. That would be looking at the end or the middle of the summer, sometimes in June or July. At that point, I'm hoping that the Northeast is back open and the West Coast and the Southeast, the areas that are being hit the hardest, those are fully reopened and we have all the freight moving. At that point, I think we have more of a balanced market.
Got you. And Andrew, one of the areas that you just spoke about was retail, not being as impacted as probably many thought. Of course, a lot of that pull forward coming from grocery stores and retailers like that, but does e-commerce really kind of play a role into some of that support here?
Certainly, e-commerce is an area of relief for a lot of the retail sector. People are selling things online, but as I mentioned yesterday in the coronavirus update, Amazon has, they made only essential goods. We're going to get the Prime delivery, and they've actually extended a lot of delivery dates on many of their goods, which leads me to believe that it's a deterrent for a lot of people that wanted to buy their goods on Amazon. They think, oh, it's only going to be a month. I've heard anecdotal stories of even Kyle Taylor talking about a new light for his setup at home. He decided not to buy it because it was going to take a month to get there. So I think people they may try to go to Walmart to try to buy those things, or they may just not buy it at all, and they kind of get discouraged and end up not buying it. So I think e-commerce definitely plays a role. E-commerce is providing some relief to some of the carriers, but I don't think it's enough to make up for the general spending that goes on in brick and mortar stores.
Got you. Andrew, Excellent analysis as always. Where can people find more of your insights?
So they can go to freightwaves.com/passport to get everything that we write. They can also check out freightwaves.com. We've got articles littered all over the website.
Excellent, Andrew. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for this week's update for the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index. Be sure to tune in next time for our latest.